My ears are kind of fucked from years of playing in front of amps and refusing to wear earplugs. So a lot of times, like, I'll see people in the neighborhood or just the stores I go to regularly, and someone will like make small talk with me as they're walking by or as I'm doing my thing, and I can't hear what they're saying. Now, I hate doing the whole thing like that, you know, telling them, oh, I didn't hear you. So instead, what I do is I laugh and then say something about the weather. I just did that in the story. You know, he's saying something about, I think he's saying, do you like my hat or something? He's like, something, you know, you've been blah, 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 blah lately or something. I don't know what he said. And I was like, yeah, man, it's the weather. It's like really schizophrenic. It's real hot, then it's raining, then it's hot. What a terrible color. Oh, I don't know why they let them do that. But, yeah, so I just kind of bullshit my way through being deaf. Yeah, look at, like, that's a fucking eyesore, right? I don't know what that's all about. Like, the building inspector, well, in this town, building inspector doesn't mean anything as long as you pay him enough. I think that's a case that's going on right now. The last building inspector taking money. Everybody here is corrupt. It's the most fucking corrupt place, man. And I come from Massachusetts. Like I've said before, just if you ever want to see, just even a Google, like, normie search, Hawaii corruption, and it's just pages and pages of everybody that works in any kind of capacity for the city or the state are criminals and getting busted for something. There's a deeper reason for that I think corruption is so bad here, and a big part of it, I think, has to do with the fact that they don't see themselves as United States, and they really shouldn't because they're in occupied territory. But there's also a lot of, they could do a lot of things differently. Like, they don't like it, but they're also willing to put up with it if they get a couple extra ship nails. That's been going on like that here for hundreds of years, and it still does. There's always people, and it seems like in their community, and you know, I don't like to talk about things I'm not a part of, but you know, I think I've learned a lot about this place as far as its history and the way things run, to speak on it in some kind of semi-educated manner. It seems like there's always an element among the community of a person that will take the ship nails for whatever people want. You know, he's willing to make a deal for his people, telling everybody, oh yeah, this will be good for all of us. You know, like, everybody's getting 2 ship nails. And everybody's like, all right. And he walks away with a box of them. And everybody else gets 2. It's kind of like how it still is now, you know. So unfortunately, that's always been a thing here. But yeah, speaking of the building inspector, it's like, well, some states don't require anything. I remember when I opened one of my stores in New Hampshire, and when I went in there to see the building inspector, I was like, hey, you know, we're opening a business here, this and that. And he's like, oh, good luck. And I was like, what? Because I just did it in Massachusetts a few years prior, and that guy put us through the TV show Gladiator. You know, we had to do all kinds of stuff. And came out like 4 times. He doesn't care. He's on the clock. You know, he's getting paid. All this bullshit. And then New Hampshire, they were just like, no, live free or die, dude. And that was it. They didn't even come out, look at it, nothing. They didn't care. It was great. So it depends on the state. Then again, Massachusetts is completely blue. They're a progressive Democrat state, which means tons of government, tons of red tape, tons of people in jobs that don't even need to exist, you know. So this state is like that. This state might be bluer than Massachusetts. which is weird, right? Because they're like an occupied territory. But again, it goes back to what I just said. There's always someone of power, influence, speaking for the rest of the regular people, generational islanders, people that have been here for hundreds of years. There's always someone in their community that they trust to speak for them that fucking sells them up the river every time. The Islanders kind of remind me of the Irish a lot, of my people. You know, there's a naivety there, you know, like the Irish. Maybe not so much in recent history, but we're a little welcoming and not easily deceived, but they were trickable, you know. And it's sort of the same thing here. There's parallels here. It's just too bad, because the thing is, there are evil forces in this world that people just can't comprehend. Like, they couldn't understand. A lot of people you might hear say, like, well, why would the government do that? Or why would this person do that? Or who would think it? Because they can't conceive of the awfulness that exists out there in the world. So, a lot of times, and I've been burned by this a lot too, I just think, well, you know, if I'm straight with them and they're straight with me, and, you know, why do I have unless they have a reason not to trust someone, you know, all that kind of stuff. People will take advantage of that, though. Some people look for people like that specifically to just move in on. And despite knowing that, I still like to keep an open mind. I'm not going to let the assholes ruin it for me. But yeah, there's a lot of parallels with Ireland. Where they do diverge, though, is how they reacted when Britain pulled up and said, yeah, we're going to take this place. This island said, well, how many shit nails are we going to get? My island said, fuck you, and hundreds of years of bloody war, of bloody guerrilla warfare. They just weren't having it. They weren't having it. And it's not as bad now as it used to be. I mean, the politics there are tricky with Ireland, and that's something I'm not really up on enough to be able to talk about it. I mean, the past, sure, but yeah, it was just a fundamentally different attitude. Whereas Hawaii, to me, felt like, yeah, okay, but what do we get? Where, you know, Ireland was just like, no. What the fuck are you talking about? Get out of here. You know? What's with Britain pulling up everybody's island? Trying to take it. Fucking bonks. Except for Fred. Fred's alright. I like Fred. He's a northern guy. I don't trust those city slickers and the southerners. Yeah, it's funny. The southerners in England are like the northerners here in the U.S. It's a flip-flop. It's opposite Friday there. You know, that the southerners are considered like the, I guess, not the bourgeoisie, but, you know, middle class, you know. Not even middle class. Like, I don't know. It's a different dynamic there. It's like the inverse of how America is set up. If you go anywhere in the world, they keep things simple. It's all about how they control populations. It's the same thing everywhere. It's just called different stuff. You know, you have the Labour and Tories in England. You got the Democrats and Republicans here. There's the illusion of difference. There is the illusion of a separate country. There are no separate countries. That New World Order that you hear people talk about, like they want to make the world, that happened a long time ago. These wars that you see are all kayfabe. It's all theater. You know, it's giant ritual blood sacrifices, and they're like Caucasians against Caucasians, because it gets rid of more of them. It gets rid of more of the sons of Abraham. So they They like that. That's what's going on right now. And it's a good excuse to destroy old world architecture that no longer fits with their narrative rewrite of history. So, you know, there's things that, there's a lot of reasons they do it, you know, but it's all fake, whatever the reason is. I mean, this thing going on right now with Israel, it's like, if you can see it, this stuff, it's just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. They false flag themselves to have an excuse to wipe out all those people because they got to clear the land for the to build the temple, so they can then usher in their Messiah. And as I said before, their Messiah ain't our Messiah. And they're creating the atmosphere for that to happen, you know. Pretty freaky. And some people will, you know, like I was watching a dude last night going on about the conflict over there and saying, you know, there are two sides to this. These terrorists, they raped our women and they shot, not his women. I don't know if he was Jewish, but he was laying out the idea about the complex. You know, how people say they want a ceasefire. You know, and he was defending Israel, saying a ceasefire. These people, you know, they cut all those children's heads off, and I'm just like, I think I even said in the comments, says who? Their media, that is the only, that they have control of all of it in the world, and they're newscasters and they're journalists. I went off on that last week because there was a segment about the Sun Music Festival, which yeah, try to find the information about that thing. That was totally real, you guys. That was something that happened. I like the footage from it too. The footage is a tent in someone's backyard, and then when the attack comes from the Ewok gliders, of people just running in a field. But you don't, you know, it doesn't take much to placate the robots, you know. All you gotta do is, I mean, a lot of times it's just a headline. They just read a headline and they're good with that. And you know what? I understand. People got busy lives. They don't have time to look into things too deeply. So they do the bare minimum to try to deceive. But this has gotten a lot of pushback from people, and those problems with the universities, which they themselves started, so they could come and crack down on people. It's the same thing. It's all deception. But they can't stand that their cattle are criticizing them. Make no mistake, they still hate us. Anyone that's not in their tribe, they hate. Their idea is to, you know, you're either going to be killed or be enslaved by them. Each person in their tribe gets, I forget how many of us non-tribe slaves are going to get when their Messiah returns, according to their holy books. But they, as much as they hate us, they still, for some reason, want us to like them. Like, they get mad when people criticize them, and they're like, "How dare you, slave?" You know. And I've seen them go on to these little mini tirades on this kind of subject, like on Twitter, where people are like, yeah, you know, I don't understand. We give you all your movies, we make all your entertainment for you. Like, they're really hurt. They're really hurt that their farm fucking animals in their eyes are mad at them. So yeah, so people aren't really buying this thing because it's so ridiculous. Some of the stories that supposedly happened. And they had the segment, the Sun Music Festival, honoring the fallen, and it's on YouTube. And there's a guy that's like on scene of all these graves. This is the site where the children were beheaded and our women were raped. And there are people online who dare say that this didn't happen. Shame on you. Shame on you. The problem for you is that we have the proof. And it's right here. And it's this like big titty blonde girl with no bra on, who is a survivor of the attack. And she gives her story like, see, guys, she was there. It's like, oh, well, that's all the proof I need of all these outrageous fucking stories. Like what, they chop the kids' heads off, put them on a cookie sheet in rows, and then put them in an oven. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like, reminds me of the other thing they had, you know, when the Austrian painter went off. Who was their guy anyway? She's theirs, and it's all a deception. But they were coming up with stories that were just insane, and they appear in a lot of their memoirs. The many hundreds of thousands of memoirs from the many millions of survivors that still collect money from the government, living in New York, and they'll have these stories. Like there was one about the bear in the eagle cage, where one prison had a bear and the other one had an eagle, and then there was one would tear the person apart. I forget how it goes, but I'll put a little link to it. And it's just tons of stories like that. They had this roller coaster that when you got on it, it would end by dumping you into like a dumpster with fire. There's another one where someone's uncle was frozen and then smashed apart. They had a masturbation machine where they would force guys onto it, and you know, the poor people at the end of the day, their crotch would be so sore from the masturbation machine. Like, they're serious about this. Those are some sick minds, you know? Those are some sick minds. And it's the same thing as this. It's the same thing as this. And what I said before too is, like, most sane people can look at this and know that it's clearly bullshit. So I mean, I don't know, whatever, I'm not going to get into it. I kind of got into it a little more in another video, and I didn't end up using it because I don't want to, I got to be careful here. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. People just start to pick up that they're just completely full of shit. And then that could change, in that they changed history with, I'm going to be careful here. They changed history with what they told us to be true. Although all that stuff that I'm low-key talking about, that didn't show up until the 60s. My parents didn't hear about that stuff till they were in college. They never heard about it before. And, you know, they probably thought, my dad or whatever thought, like, oh, it was just the government holding that information about that whole event from us for so many years because it was so terrible. They didn't want us to know. No, they hadn't really cooked it out until then. Yeah, I'd like to go more into it, but let me get out of the 60-day zone of strikes. So because you know, I don't want to get another one. But yeah, it's how do we get to talking about the JQ again? I try not to talk about that. It's so tied to the spiritual war and spiritual matters though. It's like, it's right there, and I'm watching it happen, and just like, I can't believe it, you know. But people are getting wise to it, you know. I can't tell you how many times I said that. People are starting to realize, and they never do. So maybe this is another case like that. But whatever. What the fuck was I even talking about originally? How did we get to this point? Where are we? Who am I? Who are you? And this isn't a game of who the fuck am I? Who are you? Ooh, 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 ooh. I really wanna know. I woke up in a Soho joint. The policeman knew my face. He said, son, you can go home tonight if you can get up and walk away. I don't think he did though. I think he got arrested there. Pete Townsend. Pete Townshend. Yeah, that's something I'll have to look at when I'm editing this and put it up on the screen. Well, I'm gonna shuffle off to Long's now, get some paper towels, some other bullshit. But that's neither here nor there nor anywhere. Thanks for dropping in. I always appreciate you guys stopping by. You guys, I hate saying guys. Oh God. Hey guys. It's so lame. You know, I try to avoid that. That and all the other stuff that people do on this platform. Like, do this and do that and join this and join that. And they say, no. No. It just makes you sound like an idiot. And we all know I'm not an idiot. I don't want to do anything that would make me sound like an idiot. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school. This is a relatively new problem where every little space they have, they tag. And that's not art, that's just like, I'm the king. No, I'm the king. No, I'm the king. No, I'm the king. Yeah, we never had these problems here with the graffiti, but, you know, whatever.